I've got the music cranked right now, man. Tame Impala, new album, Deadbeat. So good. So good. I'm trying not to play this album on repeat, but it's just like I was introduced to Tame Impala in 2016, Triple J's Top 100. They were rocking the top charts with Let It Happen and Currents. Currents was the album, and they had so many good songs on that one. I wouldn't say all of Tame Impala's songs are like top notch, but a lot of them are. And this album, like, the more I listen to it, the more I'm like mind blown by it. Anyway, bit of a side note. My setup, that looks like it's working. What we're doing today, we're gonna do some circuits. Straight up circuits. The thing about Factorio is like you put some hours into this game, it starts to drill itself into your mind in ways that like I mean if you don't have experience with automation and like programming or anything like that, like play Factorio, seriously. Like it starts you off super basic. You're a little drone guy who's just like knocking on steel to get some items. But the kind of things that you start to build when you start to problem solve, it just like walks, it doesn't walk you through, but you have to figure it out. And it gives you like a cool, fun platform to do it. Um, Despite being a super fun video game, it also just like teaches you a lot of things. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to do some circuit training. I'm going to press my mind on building circuits. Okay, so OmniFactory is something that I've been working on. It's a factory that like you give it recipes and it will build it for you. As long as you're supplying it base materials, it is going to build what you want it to build. But there's a lot of parts that need to go into it to make it work properly. Yeah, I'm in designer mode right now. This is kind of just where like I do some messing around and build blueprints for things. You have kind of unlimited, you don't have a little dude on the screen. You can just kind of build things anywhere. Don't have to worry about keeping a little guy alive. But this is where you can start to just like really mess around with things. Yeah, this is my first iteration of OmniFactory. In a nutshell, these top boxes up here. Oh, what I don't have on. I think I wanted to get going, get my eyeballs going. One second, then you at least know what I'm looking at. There's the cursor, but not the same. Is it working? I think it's working now. I think my eyes are working now. Okay. Yeah, so on the top part here, these are the point where base materials are going to put in. You start in Factorial with just very basic materials. You mine up a whole bunch of basic ores. You have to smelt them. Okay. You do want to throw. There's some recipes that take like raw ore, but for the most part, you want to make that ore into copper plates, iron plates, stone bricks, etc. So you feed them into here. So this is wired so that each one of these is assigned to a particular material. And it's receiving information about how much of that material is in the system. That's what all these yellow things on top of the belts are. The game is better now. Like when I first built this, you had to build an individual wire circuit onto every one of these But now you can just build it so your wires, you can just go read belt contents and read all belts. This is a new feature that they added. So this, you just need one of them and it's going to read everything that's on it. You don't need to do this whole one by one. You also don't need to build the wires anymore. When I built this initially, you had to like build the white wire, or sorry, the green wire and the red wire all the way through. Yeah. So you input a material, it's reading how much of it is in there. I set a goal of 3,100 of each of the materials to be in the system, distributed amongst 8 different factories. So each one is 32 is the number, but I have it at slightly decreased because there's time between it distributing the material and it actually arriving to its home that I wanted to account so the belt wouldn't fill up. So I have it at a value that's just under 3,200, which means each of these is carrying 8? The math on that. I did the math at some point. They're each asking for 400. 4 times 8, 32. 3,200. It's 401 because I'm distributing a single signal with these things. I feel like I'm getting way ahead of myself. I'm kind of explaining how this thing works, but am I making this a tutorial? I'm going to treat this a little bit like a tutorial for somebody who's watching who's never engaged with the circuitry in Factorio yet. And on that note, I should talk about what tools you actually have. These are the different pieces that we can use. These are our tools. These ones on the side here are the more fun ones. But these ones are your basic ones. I'm also going to add... I mean, there's a lot of things you can then work with. These are the things that we're going to kind of use logic to create, but then we also want to use storage containers, which can also be fluid containers. We can use batteries. These things, obviously factories, are something you can connect. Any type of factory. I don't think these ones do. I'm wrong, they do. Same thing, I guess, though. Read working is probably something you can work with these. You don't need to actually assign a recipe to smelters. They just take on whatever recipe that they put input. So you put ore into them and they're just going to put out whatever that ore is supposed to be. There's no recipe assignment that we need to worry about. I'm going to turn the music down a little bit. It's loud in my ear. It's probably not so loud in the... probably not so loud in the stream. Yeah, what else can we do? I mean, there's more. There's so much more. So any one of these, this thing, anything that builds something, like these are kind of typically the same. Like these are all going to be like set a recipe, read contents, like what's inside of the machine currently, read the ingredients for the recipe, give a signal when it finishes a recipe or finishes production, and then also give a signal of when it's actually working. Super useful things that we're going to use. Okay, so we have these basic, a lot of pieces can essentially work with a circuit network. Hugely important one is your actual power lines, because when you connect this is going to show you exactly what's in it. If I dump a bunch of things in here, random things, this is going to show me on the right side here what's actually coming. So these are signals. So think of the red wire and the green wire as signals. So you have red wire and green wire. This is how you can kind of channel your signals into different channels, essentially. So this box is now giving off a signal of what's inside of it. And it's transmitting it on both the green wire and the red wire. So we have two sets of signals. So with these signals is what we can start creating logic with. And the kind of shit that we can do is honestly limitless. Well, limitless. There is limits to it, but the limits are beyond my own brain. Like, it gets so deep into, like, programming that, like, the kind of things that you can do is pretty bonkers. Okay, but we're going to start to work through some of those things that we can do today with what we've got base here. What are some examples of things that I've made? Okay, so like in the Omni Factory, I'm keeping track of how much material is in a system. And with that information, I can tell arms to be like, stop putting in material, start putting in material. So I'm starting to control how much of material is in the system and then to stop. Right? Without circuitry, these things are just going to fill until it maximizes and fills up. And then that's it. Then it can't do it anymore. And then that's a good way to plug up a factory, is just to like dump a whole bunch of things into it, and not being in the right spot, it'll just completely clog everything and then nothing works. Right? So circuitry is a good way to kind of manage that. What I'm trying to build with this guy over here, this iteration of the Omni Factory, is that recipes are assigned to the factory, so recipe assignment. Let's start with that. Let's kind of work through a problem. Here's what I wanted to do. Edit properties problem. So I'm writing these notes down on the right, more for myself, honestly. Assign recipe factory. Like being very in tune with the problem and having that sort of like, this is what I need to solve, super important when starting to work with programming and logic, because it's really easy to get off track. Especially once you start having a lot of moving parts. You need that sort of North Star to make sure that you're focused on what's going on. Another tip I would say with working with circuitry is to lay things out in a way that makes sense. This is like the difference between writing junk code and writing code that is really neat and readable by anybody. It's better just to have everything really organized. Good way to do that in this game. Give me this. I'm gonna make some nice, since we are in fancy mode, I'm just gonna make it fancy. But yeah, we're gonna use this to kind of delineate sections. Like everything, every problem that I'm gonna solve is gonna be within this. This is almost like breaking things down into smaller parts. Like this part of circuitry is gonna interact with this part of circuitry. And then you want to think everything in terms of inputs and outputs, because you're working with signals, you're going to have input signals and output signals. So kind of organizing everything physically in a space will help a lot. As an example, my circuitry input is starting here. I'm deciding what goes into here. Say factory. I'm gonna build a factory. I'm inputting the signal to here. This signal, the factory that I just put in, is assigning the recipe to this. And then physically the signal is like traveling this way. It's assigned up here. it's getting sparsed out into 5 different possibilities. So recipes can have up to 5 different materials. So I have 5 different channels here. They are each handling a different one. So this is handling index 1, index 2, index 3. This is what you can think of as what's called an array. When you have a list or an array of essentially any data point, 0 is always the first point, and then you can go up to infinity. We're just handling 5 right now. This is 4, but it's actually 5 because arrays start at 0. Yeah, so we're splitting up the recipes. Whatever recipe goes into here, it has a maximum of 5 different materials to go into it. It's being channeled through here and sparsing out, and then it's checking with our storage to see of those materials. Do we have? We're saying a minimum of. We have less than 100. If we have more than 100, then we're saying, okay, we don't need it anymore. We're sending all of this in this way. Essentially what I'm just trying to illustrate right now without going into too much detail about this setup is that my signal is actually just moving like physically through a space. And then coming out this way and then coming out this way. So we're going to kind of follow that logic. So first thing I want to do, assign recipe to a factory. Very basic, very simple. So this different part, oh, I didn't actually go through all the parts, did I? Specific detail. Well, we're going to start with the constant combinator, this little red box. Very simple guy, very important. He provides a consistent signal of anything. You can choose any kind of signal. This looks like I'm looking at materials, and yeah, there's signals that represent materials, but keep in mind that it's just a signal that we're selecting right now when we're dealing with circuitry. Very important ones in here. The combinator can't put these out, but it's the signal of, there's each. Which one? This one's going to give us all the ones. Everything, each, and anything. These 3 signals, they weren't in Factorial originally. Like these are ones that eventually came through updates. Hugely important because they start to handle. They're almost like they take the signal that exists and gives it a certain one. So for each signal that exists, it's going to do something. If everything in the signal is true based on the logic we give it, then it will work. And then if anything of all their signals, if any of them meet a condition, then it'll be true. So these 3 really important. Keep a brain on these. You may not understand them at first, but once you work with them a little more, they're important. Yeah. So we can, I mean, our first problem, pretty simple solution. We just take ourselves one of these. I mean, you don't have to connect to a thing, but I always like to connect because this is sort of like your console when you're programming. This is like you check what your logic and your program is doing. So we need to set up everything. So once you connect the wire, here is where you get this added panel on the right for objects that take circuitry. You then want to select read contents, no, recipe. But whatever signal gets put into here is going to set a recipe. Pretty simple. Blues. There we go. Easy peasy. So now we're setting the recipe. The nice thing about this is that you can then do it for multiple. Now, as long as I have that same setting, set recipe, whatever I set this to, it's going to be set to all of them. It's like the quickest, dirtiest, easiest thing you can do. Maybe with circuitry. But let's work on this. Let's build on this. So next I want to assign recipe to a factory from a list. Properties. And this is where we're going to start to do some cool stuff. I don't have a lot of experience. I mean, I've done a bit of circuitry stuff, but this is, I didn't want this to be too much of a tutorial because it's also for me to just start messing with things and exploring what is actually possible. And some of the stuff I haven't done that we're going to try today that I haven't done, but we're going to work through it to get it working. Assign recipe to a factory from a list. I should be more specific linguistically here. Assign recipe from a list to a factory. If I did it the other way, assign recipe from assign recipe to a factory from a list, it's suggesting that my factory is in a list, which is a different thing, right? If you have an inventory of factories, they like you assign, so you have these like dummy signals, these like A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all these different symbols. These are just like, you can just use them. Different color coding. You can essentially just like ID tag factories, right? Then you can say every factory within this group, do this one. Every factory within this group, do this. So constant combinator, little box, outputs a signal constantly. This is the tool that we're going to use for a list. All right, so let's create a list. We're going to say stuff that my factories can produce. Random list of things. You know, whatever. Stuff. Some random stuff. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we got a whole bunch of things. So this thing is now putting out all these signals. Question, how does this react? So it seems to be set on to burning mining drill right now. Is it just adding what the last one I did? No. That's interesting. I should also get power. I think I do have power set up to be running here. I just actually need to connect it. Signals work better when they're powered. FYI. Okay. So right now we're putting out a list of recipes. But they're all just kind of default. I don't know why they're specifically doing this one. If I take this one out, they end up going to that one. If I add another one in, they kind of seem to be stuck on the one that they last received. If I clear it, I cleared it, still putting out a signal, they didn't adopt it. So it seems like they need some sort of like reset, right? There's some kind of logic that's not working here. We need to give them kind of a reset. That's one problem that we're going to have to work with if we're going to have a list of things that we wanted to build. We have to kind of control when they actually switch. I think there's probably a few ways to do it. I'm going to try to work through some of them. Weird that it just doesn't go. Now if I put this one back in, weird, they just don't want to take up this recipe. Wonder why. That is a thing that they can build. Not a thing they can build. Oh, okay. I mean, that makes sense because I didn't research it. Can I just research all my texts? There's got to be a button for it. Because I didn't have this thing researched, I guess. Yeah, here. Start research. So that was the reason. They're not going to take up a recipe that they're not able to produce, which could be to our advantage, honestly. I mean, hold on. Can I stop this? Wait. Too late. So look, now that I've researched it, they take on that recipe. So their behavior then is build what you can, if it's the last thing that was assigned. Well, no, they keep what they have. The factories themselves will keep the recipe that they have until the signal stops. And then they go on to the next available one that they can do. Which is pretty good, honestly, a pretty good behavior that we can rely on. Okay. So what if we wanted to specify which item in the list that we want to give? There's a few ways we can do that. Okay, interesting. What if I take out this? Is it going to go to rods or is it going to go to the next one in the list? Well, they ended up going to this. Even though they didn't go to that before. Even though that's something that they can produce. What the frick? Okay, hold on. We got to do some more tests here. Okay, something for sure I can't build. I can't build reactors. I can't build nuclear reactors yet. So if I assign... Where's a reactor? Reactor. I mean, any of these cryo things should do the trick too. Okay, so we assigned it something it can't do. Give it something it can do. Give it something it can't do. Wait, I could probably do that. Give it something it can do. Give it something else it can do. And then remove the thing it can't do. Goes to the next thing it can. Add something before. So one thing to keep in mind is like looking at the order that they're actually appearing in. I'm guessing when I add something in here, they just circuits, and then I remove this, it's going to go to rods. Yeah. Because this is always going to add to the end of the list whatever I add, right? So now this is going to go in. So it maintains kind of an order of signals based on when the signal started and ended. This little guy here, it's called a selector culminator. This is the newest addition to the type of culminators that we can do. It's one of the last ones that you get in terms of research. But with this one, we can start to handle things in arrays. So the way it works right now, as I mentioned, our list is going to populate, what is it called? There's like a queue, and then there's a stack. This is actually working like a queue, I believe. Queue is last in, last out. First in, last out. Stack is last in, last out. That makes sense? It probably doesn't make sense. It's about, okay, let's say I have these guys, all right, and I'm about to put something in. Okay, I have a thing that's handling each of these one by one. Think of it as a conveyor belt. I put something in on the end. It's not going to come out until the rest of the things in front of it are coming out. All right, so that is a queue. A stack would be the opposite. With that, I have a bunch of things that is about to go first, but when I add something, it's going to go to the front. Every time I stack, it's going to pop out. The way this is working by default is a queue. So when we add something, it goes to the end. It goes to the end. Now, what if I add a higher value to it? What if I give this a 2? Suddenly that bumps it up to the front. Okay. So by default, the signals are always going to go from highest to lowest. If there's ones that are matching, it'll go to the end, but whatever signal has the highest value is going to bump up to the front. Notice that these guys didn't. Notice that these guys didn't switch when I changed my value, because these guys are once again retaining until they have a reason to switch. I have a next thing I want to try, but hold on. Before I do that, what happens when I remove it? Is it going to go to the highest value? Hold on. Let me give this cogs and go 3. So now that I've created, wait, it just went straight to it, even though I didn't dump it. Why did it do that? Doesn't make any sense. It's on inconsistent behavior. Or is it because the electricity went on and off? I wonder if they turned on and off because of the power. So that's one thing before I start making conclusions about things, I should probably give myself a consistent power output. Because if I'm suddenly running out of power, then these things are probably resetting. I'm just going to build myself a quick. What's the quickest power source? Other than solar, because solar's day-night cycle. Let's give me... I just give myself a basic. This. But whatever. Oh well, guess we're gonna do this quick. Not what I wanted to do. Boilers. Me. You. Me a few. Just so I have a consistent power source, so I'm not getting tripped up. A little more power. Go, and let's fuel it with uranium. No. Rocket fuel? Does that work? Does rocket fuel go into these things? Oh my god, rocket fuel goes into these things. I've never actually put rocket fuel in these before. Is it working better? Weird. Did it burn through that rocket fuel already? No. Wait, where's my rocket fuel going? There we go. Okay. I'm just doing a little side experiment. Don't get distracted. I'm just so curious if these work differently. Solid fuel work the same. I don't see if rocket fuel, solid fuel, and I guess coal would be my alternate. Give me coal. How do I get coal? I have coal. And then you have to have solid fuel. Okay, so they're burning different fuels now. Coal is burning much faster. Well, it's about speed, right? So these are going to burn a lot slower. A lot slower. Holy crap. That's pretty good. These burn... Wait, I actually have to have consumption. Best way to create consumption is by having tons of batteries. Let's just give ourselves a crap load of batteries. Go. These should be burning. Yeah. The one difference about the fuels is that they're going to burn at different rates. Coal obviously burning the fastest. Trees probably burn the fastest, then coal. Rocket fuel's the best one, so I should just put rocket fuel in everything. I have unlimited of everything. Load these guys up with rocket fuel. These batteries are full up. We connect this to here. And then there we go. Okay. A sidetrack, but there we go. We're not going to run out of power at night now. Now, what is going on with this behavior? Maybe you see it before I do. We give it something it can build. It has a value of 1. It sets it. We give it something else. It has a higher value. That's it. What if we set the thing that already existed to a higher value? Let's not set it. What if we add something that has less value? That's it. Okay. Some weird cross logic going on here that we need to be aware of. The value is important. I want what if I make the rest of these 1? And then I make this 2. And I introduce something new that can be built. It's going to the one that's added most recently. But didn't I successfully switch it by giving it a higher value? Wasn't that a thing that I did? Didn't I succeed in doing that? Am I crazy? Just the addition. Okay, now I'm at the end of my queue, supposedly. If I remove this, which one is it going to go to? I'm guessing the highest value, or the one that was added last. The one that was added last. Right? The value doesn't matter in the switch. Value matters in the order that it appears here, but it doesn't matter in the switch. Right? But look, I just added it and it didn't switch until I remove it. Okay, so it persists. Doesn't matter how many I add after. Then it, oh my god. It'll lose my mind. Why did it just switch there? There's answers that I don't know. This is just, you saw that inconsistent behavior. Wait, but I can't build this yet. I'm just going to keep doing this until, like, my brain figures it out. Adding a new signal switches it. Sometimes. Because I don't have... But I do have electronics. Well, it's not that I don't have the recipe available. I do. You know what's weird? Do I actually have the recipe available? Circuitry. I do. I've got these other ones done too. I'm so confused. We have a bit of an inconsistent thing. Doesn't matter. I mean, once we start building circuitry, we should be deliberately creating circuits that are going to do what we want. So Selector Combinator, great way to handle lists. What we can do, we can select a specific one based on criteria, index. Let's put our list. I'm going to disconnect these. These can all be connected to each other because they're all going to behave the same. But I want my inventory to go to the back of this thing. Input and output, very important. So I should put this guy in here, like I said. Keep things organized. Okay, so now we got it going into here, our list. We got 4 items in the list. Our index position is essentially the one that's, so if I have another, let's just go red wire. So now our red wire is outputting the first one. We changed this to 1. Now it's outputting the second one. We're actually choosing in our list which one to put out with this feature here. All right, if we connect this to, just switch this. Actually don't know how these react when they have multiple. God, I'm gonna go down that wormhole, aren't I? Let's just remove this for now. This is gonna distract me. We'll get to that later. Okay, so now switching this, I'm effectively switching which thing that I'm doing. Huh? So if I have a list, I can choose in the order that it appears. Now this will be interesting because the order of which it appears affected by the amount. So if I go to, if I start messing with the order, is this gonna, yeah, this is gonna switch. So I'm affecting the order by the number that I'm assigning to them. Crazy shit. So this is very consistently going to be outputting the index number where they appear. Interesting thing that this can do with just this setup here is if I'm always defaulting to index 0, I'm essentially telling these guys to always build the thing the least, like whatever the lowest number of material is in there. Say instead of a combinator, this was a box. Give me a box. Give me a box. This was a box instead of a combinator. Actually just do this quickly and see how it reacts. This a box. Just come on. Do this. We're just gonna work with 2. Just so we get the point across. And there we're gonna have a nice little belt going around. This guy's gonna go up here. Let's see what this setup ends up doing. We're only gonna build things. We're only gonna build things that use iron plates. So let's go with a cog. Let's go with this. What else can we build? Ammo, I guess. Just whatever just needs basic iron plates. That's what we'll use for now. We're gonna hook up both. We're gonna hook up the box and this thing. Okay, right now this is just giving us a base signal, which is good because we need to start from somewhere. If we didn't have anything in here, we're not going to be assigning recipes if there's nothing in the box, right? So that's why we kind of add this culminator to give it a base indication. we're going to do this. Okay. We've got a recipe. We're always outputting the first one. So as long as this thing has material, as soon as it's no longer the first one, it's going to output. I think this is going to behave kind of in a wonky way. Let's let it rip. Just get a whole lot of this. All right, so this is going to switch. Not switching. I know why. Because the first one is going to be the one that's the most. Aha. Okay, let's switch this. Let's go to 4. There we go. What's output? Now it's like, oh, now that's the least. Now it's switching. Well, it's doing it. It's doing what we want. So initially I was wrong because I was looking at the wrong part of the list. As it accumulates higher, it's going to be at the top of the list. So we want to give it the last possible index of 4. I mean, we're actually doing 5, so we're doing the one that's the least. No, that one's right. So this one's going to do, once this surpasses the cogs, 36, it's going to switch. Until it exceeds it. It's interesting. So the behavior is being influenced by the time it takes, the time that it takes the materials to actually get put into the box. And that amount of time is how much these things linger, but these are always going to try to switch and move to something else. Interesting. So this is a nice way we can cycle through a bunch of different things to make sure that we get a maximum. I mean, they're just going to go until they run out of material, which they're actually almost about to. A lot of the material is getting dumped back into here. One thing we could do is to use a filter and say, don't grab the end result plate. And then we'd have like another box to collect the plate. You'd have to give it a system so that it then works itself back into here. You can do that annoyingly, but do it. You'd have a better setup for this, but this is going to output plate. You get what I'm saying, right? We want to end up with the plate putting back. You can't really turn arms. That's one limitation you can't really do. You can't tell arms to face different directions, which would be an interesting behavior for them to have. Oops. Yeah. Okay, so we've done that. Cool. We can work a little bit differently. So we've done this. Assign recipe from a list. We've done that. I'm gonna give myself another one. Properties. Okay. So, assign recipes from a list to a factory. Item 1000, or let's say, I don't know, let's say 10 of the item reduced, and then move on to next item. What are we doing here? And then we add some enters. Need to... Isn't there a way to make it align? Align to the right. Why is that not working? Alignment, right. And why is this moving? Help me help you. Maybe I just need to stretch this across? No. Maybe I just need to stretch this across? No. Doesn't matter. I'm getting too much text on my... Getting too specific here. Okay. We've done well here. We've done some things here. Now I want this to create a certain number of items and then move on to the next thing. What are we gonna need? I believe what we're gonna need is one of these combinators. So the decider combinator allows us to assign a lot of different logic. We can do things like greater than, less than, equal to, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or not equal to. We can specify which of the signal types are coming in, red or green. I'm not exactly sure why there's two here. I see. So we're actually looking at one. So this is one type of signal, and this is another type of signal. We can put in an exact value here, or we can also put like a specific type, and we can even give it a number. Either we give it a number or a type. We can't do both. So let's give ourselves some examples here. Let's just hook up our box to this thing. Some signals coming in. So here's some logic. This is greater than pipe. Okay, now it's true. We switch it, not true. Right? Makes sense. Is it equal? No. Yeah. Okay, so if we want it to build what we want to do is this. We're going to give this another combinator. We're going to give this a red one. Okay. We're going to give this a value. I mean, it doesn't matter what we give this. This is just going to be a dummy value. There's no number symbol, is there? Really doesn't matter which. Let's do green. And we're going to say 50. Go green. Okay. Now we want 50 of each item. We probably want more than 50. What do we need this thing? What do we need this thing? Few things we can do. We can't use the each or any here. But we can set a constant. So if anything is less than 100, output anything. don't think we want to use anything. If any of the input signals meets the condition, it will pass. It is false when there is no inputs. Output the first input signal or the first signal that passed all conditions, respecting signal order in both cases. Output the first input signal or the first signal that passed all conditions, giving us an or statement in the use of this. So this is the one that passed it first, supposedly. With these little dialogues here, we're just choosing whether we're also passing the number or just the thing itself. When we just pass the thing itself, it's like we want to use that as a trigger signal. Let's set this to something higher, 200. Okay. So this is going to output anything that is less than. Once it reaches it, it'll no longer output it, so it should switch. So without using this combinator, I mean, we're already setting what items we want to dictate with this, right? Yeah. We want to make sure we're not doubling up on our signals here, so we're actually going to remove it here. We're going to remove it here? No, I don't think it matters. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter? Doesn't matter. We're going to remove this, and we're going to give it to this. There we go. So let's give ourselves a whole crap load of plates again. Put them in here. Now this is going to create, I believe, once this goes up to 100, I'm going to switch signals. Did not. Because I need to do each. Maybe. That's going to fill this up to 200. And then it's going to move on to a different signal. Yeah, now it's going to rods. Cool. Now essentially we're telling it to do, here's a list of ones. I want to create this many of them. Once it's done that, it should be good. Iron plate is not going to come up because it's not something that it can produce. The music has gone rogue. Actually have a coding playlist. A playlist of music that I put on when I'm coding. Seems fitting, doesn't it? Cool. We did that. Find recipe from a list to a factory. Produce, I mean, we said 10, but we did ended up doing 200 with the item produced, then moved on to the next item. Cool. Very neat. Very useful, right? We want a whole bunch of things. We just put in an order. As long as we have material for it. As we have the material for it, we can build that thing. Question, though. And here's my next one. This is something I haven't figured out yet, but I'm eager to learn it. what happens when you don't have enough materials for that thing? So we're gonna say add the problem is recipe for recipe for something we are missing. We missing materials for. Move on to, we want to move on to the next recipe. Recipe for something that we are missing materials for. We're going to move on to the next recipe. Right? Because if we add wire into here, it's going to try to build wire, but look, it's just kind of stuck. And say we added another thing. I mean, once we add something, it's going to send that signal, isn't it? What else do we need iron plate for? This is just out of base iron plate. I think I got all of them, didn't I? Rods, barrels. Is this just going to add it to the end? No, it's going to be stuck on the thing until that. So you can kind of like get yourself stuck. You end up assigning something. You have a big long list of things. You assign your recipe to the factory that it doesn't have the stuff to produce. It's just going to get stuck. If it can't meet its goal, it's not going to move on to the next. So we need to create something that is going to check this. We can do this a few ways. I kind of want to start working with time. Time, you say? Like, programming is like programming. You can have like linear programming, then you have asynchronous programming. But with the introduction of like time, like a time lapse, like games do this all the time. Like a game runs at a certain frames per second, and so whenever their state of the game is changing from moment to moment, it's happening at the rate of the frames per second. Games will introduce it's like a mathematical equation of delta to kind of create a consistent time that's not based on your frame rate. I don't know the whole logic of how that works, but essentially making it so that your game time is not tied to your frames per second. In Factorio, when we're starting to work with circuits, we need to have a way of creating the passing of time. I mean, there's frames, but nothing intrinsically in the circuitry is there. There's no combinator that is like keeping track of every second or every frame that's passing. But we can do that. We can do something like that in a few ways. Start something new here. Let's start something based on time. Few ways we can do this. How do you grab one Factorio? How to pick up one wine item in a stack? Got to be a way. Right, so I can do this. just happened? Oh, I put it all in there. Stop it. Give me that. Give me that. Didn't want to do that. No. Okay, I got one. Drive me nuts. Control for picking up one item. It's all linking to the same forum. I mean, I know how to do it with circuitry. Kind of. Create a logic thing to make it so it only picks up one of something. Okay, we got 100 here. Come on. Okay, we need an output signal to tell this thing to grab. We need some input signal to say, yo, if anything is greater than 0, output a signal. If anything is less than 0, no. We want it to non-input. This is going to tell it to grab as long as there's nothing in here. If anything is greater than 0. We need to add an extra thing to this? No. Brain. Here we go. If everything is equal to 0, output. Yes. There we go. I figured it out. I got there. Work? Yeah. Look, I did it. No, it grabbed 3. Fuck. Because I didn't set the stack size. My bad. It did 1. There we go. I got 1. We got there. Okay. Figured out how to grab 1. Good job, me. How to use circuitry to do it. Okay. So we got one of these things going. We're making time. Making time. So right now we've created a sense of time with the frame rate. Not just the frame rate, but like with the game time. So the belts are going to move something at a very specific rate. I'm going to put this here. This should hold. There we go. We got a beat. Check it out. We made a beat. Okay. So this is how we can make a quick pulse. Remember, the distance of this belt is going to dictate how often this happens. All right, so now this beats slower. You can make it faster. You can change the belt type. I mean, you can put specific, like, I wanted to do that and have this do the same thing. poop, 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 poop. So you can kind of do like different rhythms. So we're starting to work with time. We slow these belts down. And if we made these into crappy belts, just slow it right down. We can then give this thing a certain amount of time. Let's take it further. I'm just going to remove this one. I mean, so now we've got a really long time loop. This is like what? At least 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So this is one way we can create time. I have a weird, janky way, but it works. This is going to keep track of time for us, or a certain amount of time for us, and it's going to keep going and loop. We can do some logic based off of this, like start and stop. Here's what I wanted to do. Based on this amount of time, I want these things to produce something, and then when it pulses, I want it to switch recipes. I'm just going to say switch recipes for now, and not an actual specific one. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. I'm just going to rebuild. We're going to leave this. We're going to leave this. We'll just leave this for now. We're going to unplug this, though, because we don't want to use it right now. We have our list of recipes. We're going to give ourselves a randomizer. Oh. Our list of recipes. This is taking an input. I want to do random inputs. Ooh, you can do an update interval. Really? I didn't realize there was an update interval. This is new to me. I thought it just goes insanely fast. This is interesting. Ah, look at it go. Rap. Brap. That's cool, though. Okay, so what if we put an update interval of 5 seconds? Still doing weird shit. 60 seconds. I think it's by frame. It's going to go 60 frames, and then it's switching to something else. Outputs a random signal from the input every tick. And a tick is based upon frames. Yeah. But we want to add some control. Frames is just like... I mean, this is nice. This will do it every what? I mean, it's going to be random based on the amount of frames that my game is running at. But it's kind of cool. Switching through. There's a random one. Now, say we want to do it in order. This is pretty fast, and this is the fastest we can possibly go, right? Or sorry, the slowest we can possibly go. This is changing pretty quick. Interesting, though. Maybe we want to change the thing based on this length of time that we've created here. Let's do that. So let's do select input. Interesting thing, we do sort descending or sort ascending. So when this thing has a specific list in order, we can choose. So one thing we do, and one thing I do in that other one, is actually give these things different values so that they're actually showing up in the list. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now, I mean, it's being affected by this. No, it's not. Is it? No, we've unplugged this. Yeah, based on our sort ascending, sort descending. Right now we're going with the highest. Now we're going with the lowest. Based on our list. So we can actually order our list. High to low. Pretty sweet. What can we do? Stack size. Oh, what's the stack size of the input signals? That's interesting. So this is just giving us a value, I think. Let's take a look at red here. Stack size. That's not right. Maybe I unplugged it. Yeah, there we go. Our output signal in red now is what the stack sizes are. This is just giving us information about each individual item. So wires, we can hold 200 in one stack, 100 of pipes, 100 of rods, so on and so forth. Neat. Rocket capacity. What's the rocket capacity of the input signals? No idea. I haven't done rockets yet. Outputs all input signals that pass the quality filter. That's an interesting one. My quality filter can be any quality, or I can specify greater than these qualities. It'll output that type of signal. Not equal. Is it actually outputting the quality type? These are normal, right? Grab this. Let's give it this. Just want to see how this behaves. It should output nothing. Put everything of that is of that quality. Greater than, less than. Equal to. Quality transfer outputs the signal with the specified quality and its original value. Direct selection. Searches specified signal in the inputs and picks highest quality found signals. The target signal. What are you talking about? I haven't used this one yet. I have not used this mode yet. What's the target signal? You specify the target signal, whatever it is here. Check mark or whatever you want. Be a specific material. You can't choose the quality of the material. Weird. I thought you can choose like specific quality of signals. I guess that's what you have to use this thing for. So this is a way to bump up the quality, I guess. Because now this is going to do each. Any. There we go. Now this is going to output all of the ones in a higher quality. Yeah. I don't know why you'd want to do that. There's probably a really good reason why. I have signals and I want to be like, all of these are higher quality. I guess it's a way to assign then, because then look, like these factories need to have their specific recipe assigned to the quality. So if we're having the Omni factories start to handle quality types. Say I have my Omni factory iterating through all the different materials and building them up to a certain point, and then I want them to iterate through the different qualities as well. That's where I would use this. But we need to get a little more specific than that because you would want to read ingredients for the recipe. You'd have to add some more logic to say, okay, I have. What do I want? That seems like a leap. It seems like a leap for my brain right now. What if I want to have a bunch of factories change their recipe to a higher quality recipe once and only once I have the higher quality ingredients to go into it. That's kind of sort of what I'm doing over here. Where I'm taking a recipe, I'm identifying its subcategory and assigning a subcategory if I'm missing, like if I take out, what can I go in here? No. Why is it not letting me select anything here? I'll be able to click into that like inventory wise. I can do it here. I can't click into here. That's annoying. Extremely annoying. I mean, this is what I'm trying to do. Really weird roundabout way of doing it instead of just clicking on it. In my design, I'm like, this should switch these sub factories to build this when this is missing it, but I don't have the logic yet to prioritize certain things. So this thing still needs work. Oh my God, I spent so much time trying to wire this thing. I got it kind of working, but not really. We'll get to it. Once we have more practice, we'll be able to do it a little more easily. Go back to time. I want this thing to switch recipes when our little time gate here gets procced. Now. Okay, so we're giving the factories a set amount of time to build something. Okay. So here's our list of recipes. We're going to use we're going to do what we had before, actually. So it's an easy going into here. We're selecting a specific output. One thing we need to handle is once it gets to the end, we can have it select a random one, I think. We get it to select a random one. Is that what we want to do? We want to have it select a random one, or do we have it iterate through the list? I don't know which one's easier, honestly. Get it to iterate through the list. Then we have to handle the end of the list. We get it to handle the end of the list. And you have to give a count. We can have it keep a count. Let's do it over here. Give me, so how many list items do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When we're on 6, we want it to go back to 0. Yeah, this is a different logic statement here. Okay, so let's work with 6. If equal to 0, let's go 6. That not work. Okay. Did something wrong here. Everything. If all input signals meet the condition, not 6, then I'll put the signal. Equal to or less than. Has to be equal to or less than 1 minus 5. We're just equal to. Less than 6, I guess, would work. If I did this. Less than 6. That gives me 6. Cool. Give me this. Take this. I'm just gonna keep doing that. Neato. Okay. I kind of like this thing. This thing helps me get the exact number of items I need. Because apparently you can't select single items in this game. I mean, maybe you can, but I haven't figured out how. Not figured out how. Oh. Okay. We're handling 6 spots. We have to handle 5 or 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When it's at 6, it needs to go back. So this setup we're going to use. But we're going to add some. Add something. Ah. God. Oh my God. Don't do this to me. Okay. Arm, stop doing anything. We've got 6 in here. Yeah, good, good. Arm, don't do anything. Disable, don't work. There's just not like a switch on this thing, eh? I guess I can just blacklist the thing. We're just working with plates. We're now blacklisting plates. Don't touch shit, dude. There we go. Okay. So need a belt. And then also an arm here. So this is the reset. Okay. This is the reset. Think about this. When this thing pulses, is gonna pulse the arm to move one of these. When this pulses, it's going to move the arm. The act of pulsing is going to change the number in here, right? Because we're counting up. So we're going to connect this box to here. And then we're going to need another. We're just going to use a combinator so we can control our signal well. To the back of this. So anything, each thing. Anything is greater than 0, we're going to output the count of that thing. Quick little test. I put in 3. Where did the 3 go? Okay, whatever. Oh, wait, I see. I see where it went. Up. Up. These are being so bad. As long as nobody touches this one. I have to rewire this. This is giving me the number. I have to set this. Now we're sending off 73. Or can I just do this as... Yeah. We can just make this whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the thing is. In fact, we want it to be whatever. What are we doing this for again? 73. We're just iterating the... We're just iterating the index number. It doesn't matter what this is. This is going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4. As long as there's something in the box, we're going to get an input. Yeah. Let's take these out again. Let me just think about this for a sec. This is our starting point. We always have a starting point. Our starting point is iteration of 6. When this thing pulses with this one little guy, we're going to tell the arm to move. So this thing is now going to be at 1. Let's set that up. First, let's get rid of all our other plates. This is just so I don't mess myself up with. Because we're going to be grabbing plates back and forth just to test things. I don't want to have to try and extract exactly 6 plates again. Okay, so we've got this thing going. We're going to connect this to our arm. We don't need this connected anymore. Right. We don't want this to be connected here anymore. Quite simply, we're just going to assign this thing to be enable, disable. Enable greater than 1. I mean, this could just be anything. Anything is greater than 1. We have it set on a filter, so it's not going to work. I take the filter off, or set it to white. Every time this pumps, it's going to pump. Boop. Fantastic. We have a override stack of 1 to make sure that we're not grabbing more than 1. Okay, so this is going to run 6 times. As it's running, this is iterating up. Once it gets to 6, we want to reset the whole thing. We have to think about how to do that. We can make this faster. We can make this with red belts or something, or shorten our belt length, but that's kind of how you adjust the time for it. This is going to be the amount of time that the factory is going to be doing its thing. Okay, we've iterated up to 6. Now I want to reset it. I want to reset it. I'm starting to think there's a different, better way of doing this. Maybe, but let's forget it for now. Think of the reset logic here now. Once this is 6, or this is 0, that's probably what we want to go with here. Another combinator. If everything is less than 1, we want this to work until this has 6. We want this to work until it has 6. We want this to work until it has 6. We want both of these to work until it has 6. I mean, we could just do it with this one, honestly. No, we want to do it with this one. If we don't do it with this one, then it's going to pull out the stuff before we want it to. We want it to work here. This one could just go whenever it has. This is only going to work when it pulses. It'll be interesting. We'll have to watch the timing of it, if it can return all the plates before. It should be able to. It should be able to return 6 plates before this thing wraps around. So, what is the logic here then? Cat's meowing at the door. Cat never fails to distract me. She's putting her her tiny little nose underneath the door, like yelling a meow underneath the door. Come on, cat. Not helping me. Go to sleep. When this is empty, I want this to work. I want it to continue working after this is empty. I don't think that matters. What? It's right in front of me. Maybe it's not this. Maybe it's anything. If anything is less than 1, do we indicate empty without? Didn't I do it over here? If all input signals meet the condition, it will pass. I can't use this one because this is actually looking for input signals. This one, if anything, if each thing is less than 0, it'll go. Let's just have this thing go. And go. I mean, that returns it pretty quick. Yeah, this is not good, though. We want this to only work when this is 6. When is this going to work when it's 6? Or when this is empty? When this is empty or when this is 6? When this is empty. Both. Either or. Is it because we need a base signal in here? Because I'm having troubles identifying the empty state. Right? This is what I need. I need the empty state. To pass completely, a signal has to pass all conditions. Put every signal that passes all conditions. No, see, this is not what we need. If all input signals meet the condition, what if you have no input signals? Okay, so I think I know what we do here. I think we go this. Greater than, less than 1? No, greater than 0. Greater than 0. Okay. I got a P. It's really hard to program when you got a P. We're going to give this a base signal, just call it a dummy signal. 0. Doesn't matter what it is, but we're just going to put it in here so it has a signal. Gonna work? Yeah, because this will pass because it is going to be 0. Right. Without putting a single... We can even do -1, couldn't we? And that would work. And then input check mark. Output this thing. Yes. Command to enable disable based on mark greater than. That work? No. Everything. Oh, this is backwards. There we go. This should do it. I think this will do it. It's going to accumulate 6. This will work. This is not giving an input signal. -1. -1, not a signal? I mean, I can always add a signal, then pass the other one +1. Really derpy way of getting around it, but might be what I have to do. The last one, we got 6. And then it works. Yes. I did it. I mean, I did part of it. God. I've earned myself a pee break, I think. Well, this is cool. Okay, so we've got our iterator. If we check our signals here, look, we're on 2. It's going to bounce to 3. I really have to make this build faster. I'm too impatient for this. This is going to get to 6. It's going to pulse 6, which is what we want. I mean, we might have to bump it up to 7 if we want to sustain 6. Like, I don't know if 6 actually ended up happening there. We'll have to see how the factories behave. But essentially, this will reset back to 0. Remember, we do need represent 0. Do with a -1. So you can add a combinator. So lastly, I think I've almost gone through every single piece here. Last one we didn't talk about is the arithmetic combinator. And the arithmetic combinator can just alter mathematically the signals. So we can, most importantly, +1, -1. There's actually a lot more here that I've never used. I think these ones are already handled. Like this is like old school. I think you needed these before this one. You had the option to add these like add or conditions. I think these have replaced it. Right. We're not getting into that yet, but like starting to add more of these branching conditions is where you can start to do some really cool things. Yeah. This is going to need some refinement. I think we're on the right track. We're going to have to tweak it a little bit to make sure that our sixth array spot is adequately being sent here. Go pee, Nick. Go pee. Damn it. I'm gonna go pee. Be right back. I'm back. Okay. I had so many thoughts as I was paying. Too many thoughts. I also got some water to hydrate and dry my brain out doing this stuff. Okay. We're iterating through our list. So we're getting a value that is going up to 5, potentially 6, hopefully 6 for at least a brief second. I mean, if I wanted to... If I'm worried that the 6th point isn't going to get got, then I can add a plate and put this up to 7. Like, assuming it behaves correctly for 5, for the 5th index position. We only want the 5th index position, though, because we're working with 0 in an array. So I think we're okay. Right, this is 0. So we're getting our index number here. We want to run that through a combinator. Maybe not. We just select, yeah. Isn't this just going to go select the input based on the number? 0 is not going to show up because we don't give it a chance to be 0. In which case we need to bump it up and then go -1. So that 1 is indicating 0, and then we're having one more. What is this doing? It's not doing anything. Okay. We haven't done the output. Output signal 1, output signal 2. Right. We did actually connect the wire. That could help. Signal. Give it red. That's 3, 4. I'm gonna go right to 1 because it works right away. It's probably gonna give us a janky like 6. Good. Okay. Let's connect that. See how these factories react to it. This is iterating through. Make these faster. I'm too impatient. Oops. Broke it. Now what happens here? It spazzes out. That goes to 1. We avoid the spaz. I mean, it works, kind of, right? Kinda how does it work? It did go to 0, which is interesting. I wonder if we can cut the signal. Like if we cut power to these two while it's doing the reset. I'm just fixated on that right now. Gives us a reason to use this thing. This is a power indicator. We're going to limit our power to, this is positional. I guess just this one's fine. Make sure the rest of this is powered up until here. This. No, this should only be running on that power. I'm gonna remove this. I just want to disconnect the power from this thing. This thing's not actually powering anything. Oops. Okay. This is getting power now. Are you getting power? You're getting power through this guy, this guy. This is not giving power anymore. It shouldn't be giving power to anything. Unless the batteries are discharging into it, right? Because this thing's in the... I gotta remove these. There we go. That's interesting. I didn't realize it worked that way as well, but I guess it makes sense. Okay, so we just have to make sure these things have power. So this to this. Wire cannot reach. Crazy. There we go. Kind of a janky way, so this thing is going to go on and off based on a certain state. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, with green wire, I'm going to connect this, this, and this. Read belts, all belts. I just want to see what that looks like for us. Don't give power unless I tell you to give power. You're just a dummy. No power for you. Let's see what this red, green. This green has given us. This should give us a signal when it's doing a reset. When it's doing a reset, we shut off the power. We're not getting a janky switch. And then once it's empty, we'll have our index. I just missed it. Did I give it a... Sorry, this needs to be read contents. Hold. This also needs read contents. Hold. This is just going to show us, give us a quick copper signal when the reset is taking place. Because we're checking the accumulating amounts here. We're getting a signal. That's what we want. We're going to take a combinator. Over here. We're going to say when anything is greater than 0, output X. X as in no power for you. We're going to do this, and we're going to do this. So look. Fuck. Hold on. This needs to be... There we go. When this is on, it's powered. When this is off, it's not powered. Let's connect our green here, and let's give our nice red wire to here, which we're going to say enable disable. We're going to say enable when X is... What are we doing? We're doing X to 1 when it's on. That means we need to go right. Enable disable when X is greater than 0. It's enabled. No, when X is less than. Right? No. This isn't it either. We can do this another way. Give this a combinator. Red signal. We're going to add a condition, and both need to be true. We're going to change this to green. Fuck. We want it to turn off when this is true. When this is true, God, Brain, come on. I did it down here. I did it down here for this. What was it? I gave it a -1. I gave it a -1, and the logic is if everything is less than 0. I think it's the same. I think it's the same. Then I have to change this to be on when it's checked. Okay, so now it's on. Hello? Why are you not getting power? Because you don't have power. You need power. No, not you. Hold on. This is wrong. You need to be like here. Then you need to be here. There we go. A wiring issue there. This is going to shut off this signal sender when this thing is resetting. We don't get the jank. You see that? It worked. I think. We're iterating through our list. Next is going to be rods and then cogs, and then it's going to go to... It's going to go to engines. It skipped engines. We knew it was going to skip engines. Wait, now it's on engines. What the frick? What just happened? I mean, me probably coding out the combinator is not a great solution. Hello, Elizabeth. Come on. I'm doing well. I'm trying to fry my own brain. Why is okay? Is the order right? We got pipes, ammo, rods, dogs. What is it going to do now? Goes to pipes, dogs. As it's spazzing out, because that's what's happening, it's spazzing out. Once it reaches 6, there's this moment of like, one solution can be, how much can these things hold? These things can hold 12. I mean, there's my solution right there. This will just instantly grab everything instead of doing a part way. That's why we're getting this weird janky switch that I was trying to fix with this up here. I did like that we just set this up. One thing I need to remember is this -1 trick. If we want something to work while there is when a particular condition is met, we want to signal the stop. Or when something is not stopped, it's going, we need the -1. Right? If we don't use the -1, this isn't going to work. We'll check on that. Make sure I'm not making things up. When this resets, this is going to turn off. It still worked anyway. -1 didn't do shit. What if I wanted to do it the other way? I wanted it to stop working while the signal is going. Well, then you just enable this for the positive value. It's all done right here. I overcomplicated it. It isn't necessary. Which means it's not necessary down here. But this should work even if I turn this off. This will do a nice clean reset when this reaches 6. Yeah. Okay. Ignore that entirely. Minus values weren't doing what I thought they were doing. What do we do with this? Why is this important? We're iterating. We're doing a nice happy iteration. I feel like there was one more thing I was going to do. This, specifically. Is it behaving the way we want it to? Kind of. We've created time. I think ideally, like with our Omnifactory, we want to check like every time it iterates or every time it pulses through, every time we've done this little like pulse check, we want this to be a check to see if the thing is working. If at any point a factory is not working when it pulses, we want it to switch recipes. Let's do that. We're almost going to have to add logic to our index iterator. What kind of logic? Do we want it for each one? I mean, we almost want it for like each one, right? Maybe I've overcomplicated this. It's sending to there. What if we just sent that to there? Right, I remember what it was. We just needed to upgrade this. Now this should work cleaner. Because it's going to instantly take out all of them. Then we're going to immediately get 0 because this will be able to grab all of them instantly. Yeah. So as long as our arm is able to grab the total amount of... As the arm's going to be able to add the total amount of spots in our array, then it's not going to do that weird janky thing, and then this thing is not necessary. But it was fun. It was fun to work with this thing. We can kind of choose what is on and off based on signals, which is pretty cool. You can do some cool things with that. You can customize your power so that you are only... Thing no longer connected anywhere. Weird. Okay, we're breaking this now, but whatever. I want this to be running. Why is this not running at all? I guess I don't really have anything that's consuming power. Right. Yeah, not really. 1.5 megawatts. Not very much. We want to keep doing circuits. I've worked my brain quite a bit with this. Maybe I just want to go to my base game. Try to implement some circuitry. Yeah, let's try to just do a bit of circuitry in our actual base game. Is there any blueprints we want to save here? I mean, I kind of liked this. This is a nice little setup. We can call this an iterator. I think I'm going to save this blueprint. Iterator. We have a timekeeper. We have an index keeper. I guess one thing to make blueprints neater for circuits is to be very clear about where your inputs and outputs are. So our output signal is... I guess we have a couple of them. How do we want to do this? I guess we want to do it with this. Make it neater. Do we need any input? This thing takes no input. This thing isn't only an output thing. Outputting a array value. I'll make it neater. I'll make it a little neater. Thing actually doing anything? No. Need that. Make it a little bit neater. Red up to here. Here and here, and then remove the red from here and here. We've successfully added before we subtracted. Here. Well, that's going up to there. It looks weird. But correct. Working. Didn't break it. We should give it some of these. Start point. Add number of objects to define array index. I guess I should move this over here so it's included in it. Yeah. Object number to box to capture array index. What's a good symbol for an array? Perfect one. Ooh, there's an input and an output. Why did I not save this? Is my text too much? Picture? Is that a picture? Start point, add object number will dictate array index. Enter. Check mark. Object number will dictate array index. Let's keep that promise. We need actually anything that we have going to an output, which is this box. here. Which a good start point. Box outputting index value arm will adjust arm will +1 each cycle. Why does that happen? You change it and then it like doesn't save your... Frustrating. Box puts array index value arm will +1 set reset value in combinator. Which combinator? I'm not giving good instructions. Probably don't want that. Is that it? We probably also want this to be a reset signal. Reset signal important? I mean, maybe. Reset signal is definitely important. Give it another output. Reset signal. Is that the reset signal? This is the reset signal. We need this combinator in here with it. Bummer. This up here. Remove this. There we go. Optional reset signal. Optional reset signal. Outputs index value. Gotcha. And I don't number the actual things. So numbers have instructions, and then output screens just say what is what. There we go. Cool. Blueprint it. That. I feel like I can condense this too. Index iterator will output a numeric value. I'll put a numeric value to iterate through an array. Based on time lapse. Optional signal for reset. Input number of index object count in bottom left box equals total array. Not lying, am I? Seems to be working right. Object count in top left box equals index signal. Get utilities. If we represent this again, what is a list? Like cycle. That's pretty good. There we go. Nailed it. Nailed it. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. Pretty good exercise. I feel like there's so many more ideas I had this morning that I wanted to go through, but I mean, the brain can only handle so much at a time of circuitry. And hopefully it's something that strengthens over time, but this is pretty good. I mean, we've definitely made some progress here. I can implement some of this into here, but I'm not gonna like go down that rabbit hole yet. Mainly through like I mean, iterating through the index one by one is one possible solution. Selecting a particular, that's the next one. I'm not going to do it now. Brain's had enough. But selecting a particular index number based on two things. One, its position in the array, so it can actually prioritize recipes based on how basic they are. Like cogs is more basic than engine units, so it should come sooner in the array. And then also checking if A, it has enough base resources, and B, for the recipe, and if it has oh my god, come on brain. Has the base resources and the number of that object in the inventory if it's already maxed out. That's the kind of two like functionalities that we need to add to this thing. We need to kind of nail down what the behavior is. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that was good. I thought it was going to go longer, but honestly, the circuits just wear out my brain pretty good. I'm going to switch to something a little bit slightly less brain intensive, logic intensive. I'm going to play some Dota. But yeah, that's it for this stream. Thanks for tuning in. Maybe you learned something. Maybe it was interesting. Maybe not. Maybe it was just kind of boring looking at a bunch of wires and shiny lights. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.